Hello, everybody. I'm Richard Migliore, joined by Ernie Munick. It's the May 19th edition of Trips and Traps on a beautiful sun-drenched day here at Belmont Park.
No more beautiful setting to talk horses than at Belmont and with you.
Well, it's great. We're excited. We've got 3 races to talk about this week. Not surprisingly, they're all turf races. It seems like turf racing lends itself to trips, Ernie.
Absolutely, and it's in turf racing where you can see that the jockey is more valuable than you even think.
Well, absolutely. So let's jump right in, and we're going to go to May 12th, race 8, and we're going to talk about Vulcan's Forge, number 5. And you're going to see, Ernie, this horse is just slow early. He broke clean, not fast, but he broke clean, and he just doesn't keep up the first quarter of a mile.
The horse has got talent. This is the second time he's met a pretty good field. I mean, a pretty good maiden field, and now a bunch of, some borderline stakes potential horses here fall so far back, Mig, and yet he's going to have a pretty sustained run that is for the second time has caught my eye.
Well, I feel for Johnny Velasquez in this situation because he wanted this horse to show more interest early. He warmed him up. I watched this post-parade intently, trying to get him motivated in the warm-up. And then when you drop back so quickly, you've got to keep the horse interested. And eventually, after about a quarter of a mile, he gets in the bridle and he starts taking him in the race, which leads to a long, drawn-out run.
Well, I just wonder if he can continue to replicate this type of run, because it's not to be in a drive that long can't be easy, and it's not the most reliable horse to bet on. However, he's got a ton of pedigree, Mick. His second dam was possibly perfect, won 6 grade 1s on the turf in California for Bobby Frankel. He's a Giants Causeway, which, he can do anything. I really want to follow this horse. I don't know what the answer is, but I just know it takes talent to make the run that he's made so far.
Well, and look at the trip that the winner's getting. Now he's caught up to the field. He's still last. Now, you don't want to break his momentum, so you're going to have to tip out wide and lose ground. Meanwhile, the winner's on the rail, on the lead, having the best trip of anybody because he's set soft fractions, and he's going to be able to quicken up. This horse, to me, though, I just wonder, and this is me thinking out loud, he's got this long, kind of drawn-out run. I don't think he has an explosive turn of foot. I think your best turf horses have a real turn of foot, meaning acceleration. This horse is a bit more of a grinder. I would love to see this horse try the dirt at one point. Now, listen, Todd Pletcher's a tremendous horse trainer, first ballot Hall of Famer. He trains this horse in the morning, so he probably has a better handle on what his capabilities are than me. But it's been my experience that a horse like this would be better off going long on the dirt where he can keep grinding instead of where horses outfoot him.
Very interesting. And, and this is with that type of pedigree, you would think he'd be able to do. In fact, we're going to get to a horse in a bit. I'm thinking the same thing. But to sustain a run that long, there's some talent there. I mean, obviously. There's
definitely talent there. I wonder why he wants to lag so much early, and particularly when you see a rider trying to motivate a horse already in the post parade, warming him up vigorously, getting his blood pumping, so to speak. Maybe they try blinkers at some stage. My question to you is, and I wonder if this horse is a bit of a trap.
Understood.
Because of that he can be pace compromised, would he be better off going further where maybe he gets a little more involved, or does that spread his run out even longer?
I can guess. And I always follow the gallop outs. Every race I follow the gallop outs. There are sometimes, Mig, I would bet, if I had a farm, I would bet it, that a horse is going to be able to go farther. I was certain Rachel was going to get the personal ensign. No, although she was over the top, I understand. I don't know. Sometimes you think a horse can go farther, and it doesn't work out that way. I think they'll have to try, and I think they will try.
Yeah, I do think this is a horse with a lot of ability. I'd just like to see him get a little bit more involved. Rachel lost the personal ensign that day because of the whip, not because of the distance. That's a story for another day, though. So let's move on to the very next race on the same card, May 12th, race 9. And we're going to talk about Sugar number 11 here. First-time starter from Jimmy Bond. Beautiful filly. Made comments about her in the post-parade. You're going to see. She got off in a bit of a tangle, like a first-time starter. And you can see Luis Saez kind of bouncing on her back there. And she loses precious position right out of the gate.
Yeah, they're 3 to 4 lengths right away. And he makes an interesting decision. He can kind of track Chad, who was the 10, by the way. An interesting trip, too. The 10 ran very well, Chad's horse. But drops in. And, Mig, I'm thinking that was the right thing to do.
I think it's 100% the right thing to do with a first-time starter. After you get off like that, she's going to have to be much the best, I believe, to win. So you want her to get something out of the race mentally and physically. I think Louis Saez made the right decision. Make her see a lot of different situations. Get a lot out of this race. And I think this filly really comported herself very well.
Now, once she drops inside, the danger, I guess, of going inside in a big field is that you're inviting some traffic as you move along. And the traffic is going to happen, and at some point you're going to see she's going to back up a bit. But there's nothing you can do. Once you make that decision, you're committed.
I could never blame a jockey for making this decision. You want to save ground on the turf. You know she's going to be a bit tentative just because she's a young horse, not that experienced. But you know what? She'll be a better horse because of this experience. Now you're going to see he's going to really basically get shuffled back to last, and then he's going to have to come out later. But again, I'll never fault a rider for making this decision. If he gets through every step of the way, he's a hero. He gets shuffled back, he's a goat. That's a jockey's lot in life.
That's it. Blame the jockey, one of our favorite horses we always used to talk about. Meg, she's a jump start, and when you think jump starts, you think of Prayer for Leaf and Willet and Rail Trip, dirt horses.
Yep.
Which makes me think that at some point we might see Sugar Reel even try dirt, because you don't think grass when you think jump start, but look at the finish here on the far outside.
Well, she's really far out there, and now you're on a straightaway, so you're saying, well, she's not losing ground anymore. But a young horse being out that wide gets lost. You think about when horses work in the mornings, they go down to the rail and they pick up speed. My trick when I wanted to slow a horse down in the mornings that wanted to be ranked was to keep them out away from the rail, because they get lost a little bit. You get a first-time starter out in the middle of the course, she's definitely going to get lost a little bit. And I think she did, in fact. Interesting. Maybe she didn't show a lot in the mornings because she doesn't have speed, not because she doesn't like the dirt. So Jimmy Bond decided, let's try her on the turf. But I think she showed that she's got to finish, and I think maybe we will see her at one point on the dirt.
Very interesting. And he's got an interesting horse, Sport, who ran here the other day, who ran so huge at Gulfstream, and ran commendably, got overbet, but ran commendably. I think he's a trainer to watch.
Oh, definitely. He does a great job. Sugar Reel, a horse that I like out of this race. Some people will argue Munchkin Money had a difficult trip, and she may be better. I'll stick with Sugar Reel next time.
Very cool, and you'll get the better price for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Chad gets bet off the board, and usually it's Chad and Irad, two very hot connections.
Yes.
Well, let's go on to May 15th, race 7, and we're going to talk about Dream Breaker, number 11 again. We're rolling lucky 11s here.
I like it. I'll take it.
I think this horse is a very difficult horse to ride, and I think he really gave Jackie Davis his rider fits.
I couldn't wait to show you this horse, but you had already seen it. But I was curious to see what you would think about a horse whose head was cocked on the backside. Who I wasn't sure if it was a bit issue, but Mig, you say it was not a bit issue.
No, actually, when I noticed that early on too, the turning of the head, and I had an inkling that this horse has a propensity to lug in. So I went back and watched all of his races, and this horse wants to lug in, he wants to get to the rail, and that's very difficult from that post. And on the turf, you're not always going to get the position you want, and I think Jackie Davis had her hands full. Now you're going to see she's going to wind up getting shuffled back here. And I know some people will blame her, but when a horse isn't steering, it's like driving a car without power steering. And you're having to wrestle around with him, and you see in here, she's getting shuffled back, and this horse did have run.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Now, but the reason I was curious about this horse going into this race, Mick, is that he had shown a lot of guts in his previous race. It was not a fast race, but he was eyeballed throughout that race. He kept taking it, and he still held on. Now, maybe, Mig, when he was on, you can see him inside the big white face, and he's going to be lugging in still, as you said.
She's wrestling with him there to keep from bothering the horse that's stopping inside of her.
And in his last race, maybe, Mig, when he was on the leader close, it was easier for him to be near that rail.
Well, that's it. If you're able to get position, and because every time she could let him run, he went forward. He did have run. Now, my problem with this horse is where does he get posted next time? If he's got an inside post, I elevate him. Now we're going to watch him here. You can kind of see if
he's hidden right now.
He's hidden right now, but the white face, just you can see Jackie's head just above the other rider's arm. He's in behind, and we're going to let it run. And you see, she's kind of got to hold him off until she clears that horse that's stopping inside of her. She goes down to the rail. And this horse wants to run. He's a rail runner. He wants to run on the inside. He's difficult. Now, after the wire, she's able to pull him out. But again, you see the head cocked.
Yeah,
and she's got a big hold of him. It's such a difficult thing. And for people who haven't been in that position, you're in a field with a bunch of horses. You got so much to contend with, and now your horse isn't cooperating. It just makes a difficult job that much harder.
Now, at some point in your career, you were sought after for horses who were difficult.
Yes. Yeah.
Whether it was whether it was a neurosis or it was just that they were very strong.
Well, I think a combination of two things. Obviously, no jockey can out-muscle any horse if a horse really wants to do something. But it's about getting into that horse's head and understanding why they may want to do certain things and the tendencies and how to work around that. This horse looks difficult. Maybe they want to fool around with equipment. If he gets an outside post again, I don't want any part of it.
Very interesting.
Because he's going to create a bad trip for himself. Gets an inside post and maybe going a little further where he can get forward position and basically take his destiny into his own hands.
Very interesting. There was a sprinter. Was it Boomtowner?
Boomtowner.
Boomtowner.
Yes. If he broke and he went to the lead, they could let him run because you want to lug in. If you got him behind horses, now just trying to get him around one horse is ridiculous, and it's not easy. I give these men and women all the credit in the world.
Well, that's why the jockeys, they're no one tougher, no one gamer, no one no more braver than the gentlemen and ladies who sit on those horses.
Well, I appreciate that. You know that. And we can be critical, so we're not just, going to throw smoke, so to speak.
No
we
question.
like jockeys, but if it warrants criticism, we'll be critical. I don't think this warrants criticism, and we can always use your help. Don't forget, Trips and Traps at NYRAInc.com.